Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Snake Pit. I'm your host, Sunabat, and today I'll be talking about Piranha 3D. Also known as Piranha, this is a creature feature comedy horror film directed by Alexander Aja, written by Pete Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg, based on Piranha by John Sayles, because yes, this is a remake. Now, originally there was a movie called Piranha released in 1978, directed by Joe Dante and produced by Roger Corman, and that in turn was kind of like an imitation, or I don't want to say copy or spoof, but let's just say the nicest way. It's an imitation of Jaws, because when that came out in 75, it changed the game. There were no real summer blockbusters before that pulled in as much money as Jaws did. So obviously studios tried to cash in on this craze, get a bunch of animal attack movies. Some of them are pretty decent, some of them are laughable, and some of them are just shit. I always thought Piranha was really cool. I mean, it's got a legacy of its own. You got the first movie, which is really cool. You got the second movie, which is actually directed by James Cameron, with flying piranhas. I mean, it's a funny movie. And then you get the remake from Made for TV, I believe, which isn't very good. I don't actually remember much of it. You got this movie, and then you got its sequel, 3 Double D. So it's got a pretty interesting lifespan. You know, it's like definitely kind of like Lake Placid in a lot of ways. I want to say it's like Lake Placid, where it's got some good laughs to it. It's not really as horrific. Like, Jaws is arguable if it's a horror movie or not. A lot of people say it is and say it isn't, but I say it's a creature feature, so monster movie, it's a horror. Jaws is definitely scary. I mean, for me on some level, and I know a lot of people, it subconsciously fucked us up for going into the ocean because of sharks. And while Piranha doesn't necessarily do that, it's still very entertaining, because I mean, a lot of fucking animal attack movies aren't that good. A lot of the shark movies that have been coming out lately aren't that fucking good. I don't know why it's so hard for studios to make like a good waterborne attack animal, whatever the fuck you want to call it, movie. For some reason, they're just all shit. But this came out in a golden period, because this is like a hybrid of a classic teen movie like American Pie or Porky's mixed with like Jaws on a certain level, or more or less the original Piranha, because it's got a more grindhouse feel to it. It is a 3D movie, but I wouldn't say that takes away from it like something like Friday the 13th, because yes, 3D is a very hokey gimmick. It's been used in the 50s and 80s, didn't really catch that well. In the 2010s, it got a little better, but it's still nothing to write home about. But Piranha, I remember, had some funny moments in 3D, but it doesn't ruin it, because I don't have the 3D version on DVD. It's 2D, unfortunately, but this was actually filmed as a 2D movie first, which I never knew. So watching it again, you'd think there'd be some really obvious shit to be like, oh, this was put 3D before the plot, basically. But no, this movie works as a 2D. There are a couple scenes that are, very obviously done in 3D, but it doesn't take away from the movie, and it's pretty fucking cool. Like, I highly recommend it. But yeah, anyway, produced by Alexander Aja, Mark Canton, Mark Toberoff, Gregory Levasseur, and starring Elizabeth Shue, Adam Scott, Jerry O'Connell, Ving Rhames, Jessica Sozar, probably butchered that, Stephen R. McQueen, Christopher Lloyd, and Richard Dreyfuss. Cinematography by John R. Leonetti, edited by James Baxter, music by Michael Wandmacher. Production companies: Dimension Films, Atmosphere Entertainment, Chaco Film Company, Intellectual Properties Worldwide, distributed by the Weinstein Company, and with a release of August 20th, 2010. Sorry, a little buzzed right now. And made on a budget of $24 million with a box office return of $83.1 million. So this was a blockbuster in some ways, because I sure as hell remember the theater was packed when I saw this movie. I was about like 12 or 13, so I had to actually see it with a parent. And before I get into the plot, like, essentially this movie is like it says on the DVD. It's Jaws gone wild. It's extreme gore and tits. Like, I remember when promotion for this movie came out, I was fucking hyped. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, whoa, like, this movie must be really insane, because they are showing some decent gore in this trailer. I believe it actually got the trailer pulled because there was so much gore in it. Surprisingly enough, though, the MPAA didn't require a lot of cuts for this movie. I found that out in looking up some history about it, but, I got a hard-on for going after the MPAA and all the stupid cuts they do and how they edit movies in the dumbest fucking ways. Surprisingly, this didn't get any cuts, like zero. And this movie is filled to the brim with fucking tits and blood and gore and all that great shit. So pretty weird, but I'm not complaining. But yeah, so I remember I was like 12 or 13 when I saw this, and I was supposed to see it with my dad, and unfortunately he was working, and my mom got stuck taking me. Now, on one hand, I'm like, okay, cool, I get to see Piranha, but everything I'd seen about this movie up until that point, I'm like, this is going to be something she's going to fucking hate. I'd rather not you go, but like, again, at the other hand, I'm like, I want to see this movie. So we end up going, and 3D tits and 3D gore. She was pissed the fuck off. I've never been so embarrassed or in such an awkward situation. I imagine it's what it's like getting caught watching porn by a parent or some shit. Like, it was just fucking awkward as shit. Like, there's a scene where this dude gets mulched by fish and he's just screaming about how his dick's gone, and then later there's just a dick floating out of the screen, and then the fucking piranha eats it and then burps it out, and it just, like, this ripped up dick and blood and shit is just coming out of the screen. My mom was fucking fuming. Like, the whole way home she didn't say shit to me. And I remember when I got the DVD, I think it was on like Boxing Day a few months later, she was like, oh, what'd you get for Boxing Day? I'm like, oh, a bunch of movies and shit. She looks and sees Piranha, and I swear to God, the look, it was like someone having a flashback. It's just the funniest fucking thing. She's like, oh, that movie. And I'm like, yeah, that movie, the sickest fish movie that has ever been fucking made. But essentially the plot here is actually pretty paper thin, surprisingly, and that's not really a problem here. I mean, there's only 2 plot lines, but essentially the whole thing revolves around this like small town in Arizona called Lake Victoria, and this earthquake or quake or whatever you want to call it opens up a chasm, and underneath the chasm there's like this like other kind of lake or what, a subterranean lake, and inside there, that's where all these prehistoric piranha have been like dwelling and shit. And the reason why they're alive, we find out later, is they've most likely been cannibalizing each other. So it's like the hardest of the hard of these piranha fish are just been brewing in here, and now they're up to the surface, and it just so happens spring break is happening, and this is a party town, so there's a fuck ton of people showing up for the mulching. And this is where our main character comes in. It's basically a split between Elizabeth Shue's character, Julie Forrester, who's basically like the sheriff of this town, and she's got Ving Rhames as her sidekick. And if you've seen Dawn of the Dead, you've seen Pulp Fiction or any of those movies, Ving Rhames kicks ass, which is always killer to have him in this. And yeah, the B plot, if you want to call it that, is more about her son. His name is, I believe, Jake Forrester, played by Steve R. McQueen, who's, yes, a descendant of the Steve McQueen from fucking Bullet and The Blob and shit, which is pretty wild. And essentially his plot's about how he's supposed to be babysitting his siblings, but he wants to actually, like, enjoy his spring break because he never gets to. I mean, it must be hard too when your mom's a local pig, so you can't really do a lot of fucking cool shit like smoke dope or like fuck chicks or anything like that without having her go up your ass and everything. But he's just like, complacent, except for the fact that beforehand he met this girl who happens to be like a Girls Gone Wild, like porn star type chick. There we meet Jerry O'Connell, who's like he's like the Girls Gone Wild guy. And it's funny because the guy who made Girls Gone Wild tried to sue this movie because of the depiction Jerry O'Connell gave of like just a drug addict degenerate who tries to coax underage girls into getting naked. Like, it's just so fucking wild. Like, but I mean, and it's funny because, too, in his statement, he's like, I'm all for parody and this and that. But, like, he tried to sue the movie. So it's like it might have struck a little bit of a nerve or got a little too close to home, man. Like, but, yeah, he plays a sleazebag. He's hilarious. But he tells Jake, like, if he wants to get paid or anything or go, like, have a cool time, he can scout locations while this guy films his porno and shit. So he, basically agrees. Now, the only thing about Jake's story I didn't really like was there's this girl named Kelly. And, I don't know, man. She was weird. Like, she's kind of a bitch in the whole fucking movie. Like, she's just there like, oh, Jake, you want to hang out? Oh, no, you can't? Well, I'm going to go hang out with this douchebag and his friend and get Eiffel Towered by them at a fucking DJ show. And it's only because she finds out he's going to go on this boat working with these fucking porn star chicks and stuff that she flips, and she like ends up forcing her way on the boat. And like, their relationship dynamic was fucked, and they kept trying to make us feel like, oh, that he likes her and they're the couple. And it's like, dude, you could have written the whole B plot without her and it would have been completely fine. Like, I didn't feel like it was necessary, and every time she was in the scene it was just annoying. But yeah, no, the Jerry O'Connell shit, like, he killed that whole B plot. Like, he was fucked, but he was hilarious. He's the guy who gets his dick mulched off later in the movie. There's this great scene with these 2 chicks, a fucking I think it's Kelly Brook and Riley Steele, and they're basically just swimming naked under the boat the whole fucking time. And that in IMAX 3D, I gotta say, like, fucking amazing. Like, that's what our technology should be going towards with 3D movies. Fuck that Avatar Blue Alien fucking with their tail shit. I want to see real tits in 3D, and this movie fucking delivered. But Elizabeth Shue's storyline isn't bad either. I mean, she's trying to keep the town together while basically American Pie and Porky's and all this shit is going on around her. And, you get to meet Christopher Lloyd, who's like the fish expert, who's like, this fish is 1,000,000 years old. Marty, get the fucking machine. Like, you know what I mean? He was crazy in this movie. He gets billed in it like he's in it for a while, but he's only in it for a couple scenes. We meet Adam Scott's character, who's essentially like 2010's version of Matt Hooper from Jaws. And funny enough, Richard Dreyfuss in the beginning of this movie, but when the chasm fucking opens up, he's singing "Show Me the Way to Go Home," dressed up like Matt Hooper. And even in theaters, I thought it was him, but apparently it's not. It's just like a cameo like type shit. It's supposed to be just a one-off joke, but nah, fuck that, man. After Jaws, he became an alky and he got sucked up by a whole different kind of fish. That's a cooler canon, in my opinion. But yeah, there's a lot of cool references here. But essentially, with the Elizabeth Shue and Ving Rhames storyline, you get like just a bunch of fucking teenagers getting fucked up. Like, there is a brutal bloodbath at a wet t-shirt contest. Eli Roth actually plays the judge, and of course he has to get a brutal fucking death. His head gets smashed in by a fucking boat. There's like a chick whose hair gets caught in a propeller while one dude's panicking and trying to get away, and he fucking like pulls the ripcord and rips her whole scalp off and shit. There's these fish just tearing people the fuck up, like, and some people don't even get killed, like just chunks of body getting pulled out. Like Greg Nicotero, another makeup effects artist, has a cameo where he picks up this dude whose whole lower half got eaten. Like, the gore in this movie is amazing. It's a mix of CG and practical, which, I'm not a big fan of CG. Like, I personally think it ruined a lot of movies. Like, that Thing prequel that came out totally got fucked by it. But here, I didn't really mind it too much. The practical effects were 1,000 times better. That's for damn sure. But yeah, no, the fish looked pretty fucking cool too. And, yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm kind of grazing over the plot, but like I said, there isn't really a plot aside from like the typical family and relationship bullshit between like Julie, Jake, and the younger siblings. There's not really much. It's just like 3D tits and fucking explosions, buddy. Like, it's just so fucking wild. Like, if you want to turn off your brain, get really fucking wasted, and watch something that will be like a fucking good time kill, this is it. Like, this is peak fucking mindless entertainment. Like, I'm so bummed they don't make movies like this really that much anymore. And even the sequel wasn't that good, but it sure as hell is a lot better than some of the stuff coming out now. Because, like, even on the surface, this isn't going to be a good movie by technical standards, right? Like, it ain't going to be no Jaws, but it's totally fine. It's so, like, it knows what it is. Like, it's self-aware, and that's what makes it so fucking entertaining. Like, there's some jokes in here that are fucking killer. Like I said, like, all the performances are like, everyone plays their character properly. The only one, like I said, I didn't really like was Kelly, because I felt like they needed to have like a romantic subplot, and they kind of just forced it in there, but it really didn't need it. Other than that, it was just fucking fish causing chaos, man. Like, it was brutal. Like, there's this part where these two divers go into the cave, and this one guy gets fucking tornadoed by fucking fish. Like, gets fucked. And, there is one spoiler I will drop. I can't remember if this gets brought up in the second movie in Piranha 3 Double D, but basically, like, at the very end of the movie, after the boat gets submerged and all the porn stars die and fucking, like, every scumbag except for Kelly and, like, the siblings and Jake die, they all are going, and Adam Scott's just there, and he gets a call from Christopher Lloyd, who says that these fish are essentially, like, they don't have the mature sexual organs, Marty. They don't have them. So Adam Scott's just there, like, well, so what are you saying? Where are the adults? And this massive fish just jumps out of the water and fucks him up big time before credits roll. I remember that actually being in the trailer too. So funny enough, they spoiled the ending to this movie in the trailers. Yeah, I remember wondering when that fucking jump was going to happen. There's a scene in the trailer too where god damn it, that bitch is in my brain and she won't fucking leave. When Danny's in the water, actually, the porn star chick, and she's just there and she sees a bunch of piranha swim around her. That's actually not in the movie itself. That was shot just for the trailer. But I remember that always kind of fucking with me a little bit too. But yeah, this is a fun movie, man. Like, the gore is fucking killer. Like, there's tits every few minutes. I don't know what there isn't to like about this movie. I feel like the people who don't like this movie just don't like having a good time. I feel like they're the same kind of people that are just like a real fucking butt plug and at parties, and they're all like, I like elevated horror. It has to be sophisticated. It's like, dude, this is like perfect throwback to that 70s, 80s shit, bro. Like, It's just a shame. It's a real shame the sequel couldn't hold up like this one did from my recollection. Again, I gotta watch it again because I kind of am just going with mob mentality on this and just agreeing that with that what everyone else says, because I've definitely seen it like once or twice, but I just don't fucking remember it. So I'm kind of going again like with what everyone else says. It's not very good. But yeah, this movie, it's just wild. Like, it is a fun ride. If you want to see like over 75 gallons of fake blood that were used on the daily, and like porn stars getting mulched up and like all that crazy shit, check this movie out. If I gotta rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, I mean, like, I don't know, man, I'd probably have to give this about like an 8.5 or a 9, because it's just super fucking enjoyable. Like, of course it's a dumb as fuck movie, but like, it's good. Like, it's entertaining. It held my attention the whole way. It didn't feel like I was gonna like doze off or nothing like that. It was just fun. And sometimes you need to have a fun movie. You don't need something super deep. You don't need something that's, going to make you think, or something that's even generally scary. Sometimes you just need a bloody good time, and I feel like this movie fits the bill. So I highly recommend it to anyone out there who wants a good summer movie to check out. I will be getting into the Friday the 13th ones again soon, I promise. It's just I'm trying to savor the moment before I get into part 4, because like I've said a billion times, it's probably one of my favorite movies. But we're not talking about that now. We're talking about Piranha. Again, the original I do want to talk about at some point too, because that is a fucking classic. Roger Corman, of course, passed not that long ago, so rest in peace. The dude was a fucking legend. He knew what sold. He made some really fucking fun drive-in movies. And the fact that one of his like imitation quote unquote movies, Jaws ripoff, got this much of a big budgeted remake is fucking amazing. I think it's great. Yeah, just really cool shit. I don't know what else to say. I'm pretty ripped right now. Probably gonna go, rip a couple more bowls. Maybe even watch the original Piranha. Fuck it. But yeah, Piranha 3D, high recommend. If you guys can find the DVD, it's usually going for super cheap. Add this to your collection. It is a fucking fun one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. But I'm out of here. Peace.